right, good afternoon, Mr. Koninsky.
Afternoon. For the record, Melvin J. Koninsky representing the licensee.
Good afternoon. Brooke Learman of Brown, Goldstein, and Levy representing the petitioners.
All right, good afternoon. Ms. Learman, you indicated that there was a preliminary matter.
As a preliminary matter, I have submitted to the board a CD, and I've also submitted it to Mr. Koninsky. I supplemented that CD with 3 additional exhibits, and I just in order to save time, so that we don't have to have every person who submitted a letter resubmit their letter into evidence today, I would make a motion to submit the exhibit list and the exhibits, which Mr. Koninsky has and which the board now has, so that they are all part of the record today.
All right, I'll hear from you.
I don't have a problem with the exhibit list. I do have, the question is a preliminary motion, and then also as to the relevancy. But I mean, as to the actual documents themselves, I don't have any problem with you having them, but I can object to each one of the documents, in which I'll tell you why I have an objection. Most of them have to do with relevancy and causal relationship to this location.
All right, is there any objection to the petition for revocation?
Only as to the fact of relevancy of it, as to whether or not it is factually correct. My first motion would be to have all the charges dismissed because I think that they're vague and indefinite from the point of view that they charge a violation that exists from April 26, 2012 to date. I'm not sure what date you're picking, but it looks like it was probably sometime in November 8th, 2012 when the summonses were issued. I think that it's violative of due process because it is vague and indefinite, lacks specificity, and it violates the fundamental principles of fairness and justice under our United States Constitution and Constitution of the State of Maryland and the Baltimore City laws, because it doesn't give the applicant a fair reason to be able to defend herself on each and every day from April 26, 2012 to November 8, 2012.
All right, thank you very much. Your motion is denied. The petition clearly states at least 2 separate occurrences alleging an occurrence on September 30th of this year and October 1st of this year. There's no vagary in those allegations. Oh, again, you're arguing the...
Your charging document, has the all-inclusive, so that the theory would be is if there's not a violation on each and every day from the charging document up until the date of November the 8th, then the charges must fail. I understand what you're saying about the 2 instances that are alluded to. That's not what you charged here.
All right, again, we're going to deny that motion. The charges indicate, or the charge indicates a violation of Rule 3.12, a failure to avoid disturbing the peace, safety, health, and quiet of the general welfare of the community from April 26, 2012 to date, that operative date being the protest of renewal hearing in this matter, and all events thereafter. The charging document does specifically indicate and reference the petition that I have just mentioned, dated October 19th, signed by 137 residents, requesting a public hearing. And those, the petition for revocation, which is properly referenced in the notice of charges, there's nothing vague about it. So we'll deny your motion at this time. April 26 until, you're asking me to make a legal determination at this time. Well, the petition was filed on October 19th, and charges in this matter were filed on November 8th. So we'll deal with that if and when we hear any testimony about anything that happened after October 19th. All right, petition for revocation. Is there any objection to its admission, subject to argument? It's the complaint, it's the pleading that initiated this hearing, certainly. All right, protestants 1 is the petition. It's received. Any objection to letter from the 46th District Delegation to the Maryland General Assembly dated October 5th, 2012?
Subject to
We'll receive it. All subject to argument. Protestants 2 is received. Letter from James B. Kraft, Councilman for the 1st District. Protestants 3. Is there any objection? All right, we'll note your objection. You're saying same objection, but you said subject to argument on.
argument on relevance.
All right, so you're objecting due to relevance. All right, so we'll note your objection, overrule your objection. Protestants 3 is admitted. A letter from Darrell J. Jerkowitz, President of Canton Community Association. Protestants 4. Objection as to relevance. It's overruled and will be subject to cross-examination. Number 5 is the Patterson Park Association letter to the Baltimore City Liquor Board dated October 5th. All right, object to relevance. It is overruled, received as the 5th exhibit. Hampstead Hill Association letter, protestant 6. All right, objection is noted and overruled. Hampstead Hill Association letter dated October 16th comes in as the protestant 6 exhibit. Highlandtown Community Association letter dated November 28th, 2012. Note your continuing objection to the letter from Highlandtown Community Association, and we'll overrule it, receiving the 7th exhibit. Letter in support of a petition from United Evangelical Church, 3200 Dillon Street. Objection noted, overruled. Protestants 8 is received. Protestants 9, High Grounds Coffee Shop, letter in support of petition. Objection is noted, relevance and overruled. Protestants 9 is received. Protestants 10, letter from Carrie and Jeff Schiller of 503 South Decker Avenue in support, authored by Ms. Schiller. Objection.
Same objection.
Objection noted. Documents, or it's overruled. Documents received as a 10th exhibit. 11th exhibit is a letter from Corey Profit, owner of 503 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Objection noted. Overruled. Protestants 11 is received. Protestants 12, letter from Lee Profit of 503 Southeast and 941 South Bayless.
Same objection.
Objection is noted. Overruled. Received. Protestants 12. Protestants 13. A letter from Andrew Lair, owner at 507 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Objection noted. Overruled. Documents received as Protestants 13. Protestants 14 is a letter from Elliot Hooper and Alex Solomon, who are tenants at 503 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Objections noted, overruled. Protestants 14 is admitted. Protestants 15 is a letter from Emily Hughes of 501 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Objection is noted, overruled. Protestants 15 is received. Letter from Emily Hughes. Protestant 16 is a letter from Jake Burzoff Cohen, a resident of 500 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Noted, overruled. Protestant 16 is admitted. Protestant 17, letter from Lauren and Kevin Grace, the owners of 511 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Noted, overruled, and Protestants 17 is admitted. Protestants 18 is a letter from Michael Dunn of 504 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
We'll note your objection. We'll overrule it. Protestants 18 is admitted. Protestants 19 is a letter from Peter M. Gaylord of 403 Southeast Avenue, marked as Protestants 19.
Same objection.
Objection is noted, overruled. Protestants 19 is admitted. Protestants 20 is a letter from Sarah Dickey, who is a resident in the 400 block of Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
All right, Ms. Dickey's letter is Protestants 20 and is received over objection, which is noted. 21 is a letter from Valerie Dowdle of 1204 South Kenwood Avenue.
Same objection.
All right, and that's noted, overruled, received as Protestants 21. Protestants 22 is a letter or email from Deborah Pucci, a resident at 505 Southeast Avenue.
Same objection.
Objections noted, overruled. Protestants 22 is received. Protestants 23 is a letter from Jenny Smith of 747 South Curly Street.
Same objection.
Objection is noted and overruled. Received. Document as the 23rd exhibit on behalf of the protestants. 24th, police report dated September 30th, 2012.
The number, what number is that?
That's
24?
number 24.
The objection is to relevancy and authenticity.
All right, I'll hear you as to his objection.
I'm willing to, we can bring up a witness to authenticate it.
Police officer.
Oh, we can bring up, I mean, it doesn't need to be, it's a public record. It doesn't need to be a police officer to authenticate it.
Cross-examine my objection, I can't cross-examine the person who wrote it, was it Baldwitz?
This has been in the, I mean, this has been in the liquor board file. So any objection that you had, you should have filed previously.
Well, I'm going to jump in here, and we're going to go ahead and overrule the objection. There is a fax cover sheet from the Baltimore Police Department attached to this exhibit showing that it was faxed to the liquor board on October 9th, 2012 at 3:44 p.m.
We're saying there's no police officer here to testify to the events. Correct?
There are people who are here to testify that this is an accurate representation of what happened that evening.
I'm asking if there's a police officer here to testify.
There doesn't need to be a police officer here to testify if it's an accurate representation and this is a public record.
They can testify as to what they saw, but there's no police officer here, not really would comment as what the chairman said one time. Without a police officer testifying, we're not the most probative documents in this case. The board's not able to consider that much for that. That's a direct quote.
And that's in the event, I don't even know what case you're talking about, but that's a situation where some police reports are different than others. Some are more probative, some are less probative. Some contain more information, contain less information. The fact that we have what appears to be a chain of custody fax cover sheet to our agency, as Ms. Learman said, this is a document that's apparently been sitting in our file for over a month. I don't know if either side has made an attempt to contact this officer, but as we are an administrative hearing with relaxed evidentiary rules, we are free to consider a police report, and we're confident that it is a regularly kept record, regularly kept records. It's hearsay. There's nobody here to testify in support of it, but it is received by our agency, and we, as an administrative hearing body, are able to review this document. We're going to go ahead and overrule your objection, Mr. Kudinski, and enter protestants 24. 25 is a police report dated dated May 28th.
Sorry, actually well, it doesn't matter the order, but
Number you
25 is actually a video that we're going to show that you have on the CD that I gave you and that Mr. Kudinski has as well in a CD that I gave him.
All right, that's fine, but I have a second police report here to deal with, so,
Yes.
Additional police reports. Maybe this is 26.
Yes, exactly.
All right, 25 is you said a CD, but it's
So on-
video, right?
It's video. So on that CD contains all the documents that you're going through, as well as a video that we will only show a short snippet of.
All
to
right, well,
preserve
we're going to
time.
consider 25. I mean, we have the physical
Right,
documents
here
here,
it comes. Yes.
and if this case goes to judicial review, it's going to be based on the paper rather than the CD. I believe the documents will be printed out at that time. So we're going to rely on 25 as to the video only. And we're obviously going to have to wait until we get some more information about the video before we'll allow for.
Withhold my objection.
Yep, so 25 is pending. 26 are additional police reports and calls for service. No, they're just police reports, I'm sorry. Protestants 26, any objection?
Objection is to relevancy and the same authenticity, and I don't know how you got these, or you're talking about the chain of custody.
I'm happy to have offer a witness to testify to the chain of custody pursuant to Rule 5901B7. They're public record, and they're clearly from a public office, and therefore authenticated.
Well,
All right.
just because you say it doesn't mean it's true.
It is for public records
Well,
that are
somebody has to tell me this is a
self-authenticating.
public record.
And we'll need to call some brief testimony on that if we're going to do this preliminarily. You want to go ahead and call up your,
Sure. Do
the
you want me to do
person
that
who-
one right now?
Yes,
Okay.
just simply as to the records.
Not here yet, so we'll
All right, we're going to hold off on further exhibits 26, Mark 26. Let me ask you, protestants 27, calls for service. Is that the same person who procured those documents as
it is
well?
not. We have a separate witness.
Can you
for
call
those
that,
documents.
any objection to the calls for service, Mr. Kudensky?
Relevancy and chain of custody.
All right, as far as chain
Can
of
we
custody
hold?
goes.
I can hold on that and submit it when our witnesses, when we are ready to put her on.
That's fine. All right, 27 is not received, it's marked. 28, letter from Pastor Graves of the Patterson Park Baptist Church dated November 19th, 2012. Any objection, Mr. Kudensky?
Objection only says to relevancy.
All right, objection noted, overruled. Protestants 28 is received. That's leaving out 25, 26, and 27 at this point. All right, it's your petition, your client's petition, Ms. Learman, so you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good afternoon. It's unfortunate we have to be here today, unfortunate because of what it shows. We're here today because of the continuing and increasing violent incidents and disturbances at La Raza 31. You want me to move on? Sure.
Thank you, Ms.
Better? Okay, sure. We're here today because of the continuing and increasing violent incidents and disturbances at La Raza at 3137 Eastern Ave. It wasn't even 6 months ago that these residents were before you previously. And on that day, as you know, the board imposed a 3-week suspension. It found, based on testimony of many neighbors, and in its words, one of the most thorough petitions this board had ever seen, that, quote, there clearly has been a disturbance to the general health, peace, quiet, and safety of the neighborhood. Well, that general disturbance has not abated. Unfortunately, it has increased in number and in severity since that time. So petitioners asked the board, based on the evidence submitted to the board prior to today and based on what you'll hear today, to revoke the license at 3137 Eastern Ave. Petitioners understand that revocation is a harsh remedy, but in this circumstance, I believe it's necessary for a few reasons. First, the residents of the area, the immediate neighbors, are all bearing the brunt of the problems at this bar and for good reason live in fear in their neighborhood. They are sometimes quite literally captive in their own homes when they wake up to find police tape across their front doors. Liquor licenses are privileges granted by this board to individuals who show the capacity and responsibility to use those licenses, and here I submit that that has not occurred.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kudensky, anything in opening, briefly?
Just an opening, I think that when you look at the evidence and from the testimony of the various individuals, you indicate that these problems that you see are symptomatic in this city, not just with any particular area, and it's not attributable to this location. You won't see any police reports. You won't see anything that has to do with the operation of the interior of this location. There may be some things that happen on the outside that are not at all related to this, as you saw in the paper where there were 7 shootings on Greenmount Avenue. Who do you attribute that to? The same thing here. If something happens on the outside, unless it was attributed to something with the operation of this licensee, either they encouraged it, they knew it, or did something else, you can't lay that at the doorstep of this particular licensee. And I don't think you're going to see any evidence that says that, and that's back when we'll go over these documents, and I'll explain to you why I'm objecting as to relevancy for fact witnesses.
All right, thank you. Call your first witness, Ms. Learman.
I call Corey Prophet. Stand spelled.
Yep, please.
Corey Prophet, Corey Profit.
Where do you currently live?
941 South Bayless.
And when did you move?
I moved there about 11 months ago. It was August of 2011. Moved from 503 Southeast Avenue, which is a home that we still currently own, rent out.
And you communicate?
Yeah, we speak with them often, probably once a month or so.
And can you tell me about the neighborhood?
The neighborhood's great. There's lots of other businesses around that area. We frequent them. There's the Patterson Theater right across the street. We go there for dinner or shows. Other bars around that area, Mustang Inn, Annabelle Lee, plenty of other places with liquor licenses that we don't see problems with.
And what's been your experience with La Raza in the past 6 months?
Things have just gotten worse. So we were here back in, I guess, April here protesting. And then, since then, we were hoping it would get better, but, it's gotten worse. We have stabbings happening there. We have, people,
Object.
All right, basis?
Basically, his factual knowledge as to a stabbing occurred on the premises.
All right, what's your knowledge as to any stabbing, Mr. Prophet?
other folks will speak about seeing that. So I did not personally see that.
Okay,
So, I'm going on, what my tenants are telling me.
certainly.
and the
All right, you can continue without going into specifics about the stabbing.
Okay. And then, also people, neighbors waking up to police tape covering that area and taking up all that corner right around the
Same
business at
objection.
night.
Noted and overruled. Okay, you may continue.
Have you ever had a problem with any of these in your area?
Around 503 East Avenue, no, haven't had a problem. I had a problem once with a bar at the area where I currently live. Called them up, and it was
Well, I'm
music.
going to check this, the relevancy. The other bars aren't on.
Overruled. It's my understanding that they may be trying to eliminate other possibilities of those who are disturbing the peace in the neighborhood. So we'll allow it. Overruled.
If there is a problem at the bar that we once had, Blue Hill Tavern, we called them up. Music was too loud. They turned it down, and we're great. So
Had responsive like that from the owner at La Raza?
no, we have not.
So would you say the situation has deteriorated?
Absolutely. Now it's just more violent crime.
Anything else you'd like to add about why you are asking for his license?
Yes. We were hoping after the last hearing that things would get better, and they're just not. Now the violence is stepping up. It's not just noise violations anymore. It's a problem of safety and people not being able to walk around and walk to their cars at night. That's just a scary place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Prophet.
How far away do you live from this establishment?
The current house at 941 Bayless is probably about 8-ish blocks away.
How many times have you been in this establishment?
I was in it probably a couple times last year, and that was to tell them to turn the music down.
Who did you talk to?
I spoke with a doorman.
Did you ever talk to the licensee? You said they've been uncooperative. Who did you talk to?
I didn't have that opportunity. I talked with the doorman. They said they'd turn it down, and they never did.
So you never talked to the licensee?
I walked in the door and.
But did you
asked-
talk to the licensee? It's real simple, yes or no. I mean, I'm not
No.
trying to trick you here. No, you never. All right. And when you talk about the Blue Hill Tavern, the Blue Hill Tavern is how far away from here?
I was just speaking of that because it's right behind my current house.
Got it? And how far away is it from here?
Right behind
It's on
blocks.
Conklin Street, correct?
Okay,
So it's 9 blocks away.
okay,
In that situation, you said that you had a problem with noise?
yes.
How many times?
That one time,
Who'd you talk to over there?
I called them. I'm not sure who the person was, and they fixed the issue.
And as to this violent situation that's happening in the location itself, in the bar, you have information that there's some violence that's happening in the location?
I don't.
I'm not for a question.
Are there any personal observations that you've had of this bar avoiding disturbing the peace since April 26th?
Not personally, because I'm not living there right now. For other folks will.
All right, thank you very much. All right.
My name is Sarah Dickey, Sarahdickey.
Thank you, Ms. Dickey.
And Ms. Dickey, where do you work?
At the Baltimore City Police Department.
And what do you do there?
I'm a crime analyst there.
And can you identify Exhibit 27 that I'm holding now?
Yes.
These are the calls for service. And did you obtain these reports?
I was approached by community members and they asked me if I would be able to obtain the reports. I had to get permission from my supervisor to release the information. She relayed the request up to our legal department, and they approved it, and she manually ran the reports that I'm holding. Yes.
And move to admit Exhibit 27.
Can I just wire dear here a little bit?
Certainly.
All right. So you said that you got these from your supervisor,
Yes.
and your supervisor's position is what?
She's a supervisor of planning, the crime analyst planning and research unit.
And what do they do?
We do a variety of things. We do a lot of statistical, geographical, and linkage analysis throughout the city.
But you don't have any particular information concerning these reports?
What type of information do you mean?
Outcome, charges, whether they have anything to do directly with 3137 Eastern Avenue?
I don't have charges, but if you look at the reports, the column that says dispatch incident, that's the initial call that was made to 911.
By?
People in the neighborhood, someone at the bar, even a police officer who was driving down the street and saw an incident going on. He stopped, probably called in a 911 call. The return incident is what the outcome of the incident was, and the disposition is what was written up by the officer.
Can you tell from your reading of that what disposition were made on any of these?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell what disposition were made on any of these, or are they the ones that are listed on the very right-hand column?
Yeah, report written, that means the officer manually wrote a report of what happened. Complaint abated, that means the officer handled the incident right then and there. Gone on arrival, whoever had called or whatever the incident was already done by the time they got there. Handled in service, same thing, the officer handled it right then and there.
You have no idea what officer it was, or can you tell from here?
No, I don't know.
All right, now let me ask you this. What significance is 2901 East Baltimore Street?
Mr. Chairman, we submit that she will testify to the fact that the severity of the call. Her position as a crime analyst, she analyzed calls it 3137, and then calls it a few local other area bars or restaurants, and just took a look and did a comparison and testify that the severity of the calls and the number of the calls at 3137 is much higher and more severe surrounding establishments.
Well, I'll object to that. It really doesn't have any relevance. 'Cause first of all, she testified she has no knowledge of anything happened at 3137, except there's a call using that address.
Well, she,
Testifying in her role
All
as
right.
a crime analyst.
Then I'm going to ask her about each one of these incidents then. That's where we want to go.
I mean, she's
No, it's
testifying.
okay. I'll ask her.
please, please. All right. Do you have
Yeah.
any further objections to protestants?
Brother of idea here. Let's go to 5111. It says sanitation complaint for 3137. Correct?
Yes,
It says complaint abated.
yes.
I don't think you understand. We've asked at this point for her to provide information on the admissibility of this
So she's
document.
not going to testify to these documents at all.
She will,
She's going to give an opinion as to this document as compared to the other document, and I can't answer those
and once
questions.
she does that, you'll have a chance to do that. At
Well,
this
then I
point, we're
object-
simply asking for your objections,
I'm
and we're going to
objecting because
rule.
it goes outside the scope of the date of the charges. It's 1111 till 11/24/12, which is outside your charging document.
And we submit that look at just from 428.
And this is not the first time that we've all seen this in the liquor board, is that
But
these
that
jock.
does not make it right.
No, and it just needs to be redacted. That's what it
Well, then,
means.
If they had these documents all these times, now you're going to redact it on the commission's time? Okay.
Look at the document.
That's
We
all, got
actually
it.
received-
Withdraw.
We're doing all this on the commission's time,
Okay.
so yours included. All right, so the commission is going to redact any dates prior to April 26, 2012. So we'll start up with April 28th, 2012.
And after?
And that is, Ms. Learman, do you have any objection to the board not considering anything filed, any of these charges after either October 19th or the date that the charges were filed, which was November the 9th?
I would say
Hear from both of you. Go
up
ahead.
to November the 9th.
Mr. Kudensky?
Well, I would say I'd use the October date because that's the day that you're complaining of in your petition.
Well, October 19th is the filing date. That's what it is. We will consider, out of an abundance of caution, we will consider only that prior to or on October 19th, 2012. So that will knock out anything after that date. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 calls after October 19th. Okay. Any other objections to the document?
Other than subject to cross when she testifies now.
Any objections to 2901 East Baltimore Street or?
Same objection, subject to cross.
All right, then it's admitted. Protestants 27 is admitted as redacted.
Or summarize your understanding what is in
Yes, what this report means is if you compare the calls for service that occur at La Raza to the other locations that are in the package, you can see that majority of there's more calls for service at La Raza than there are at any other location, and the calls for service are much more severe than the ones at the other locations as well. And if you were to even add up the calls for service at the other locations and compare that to La Raza still has more calls for service than the other locations.
And can you explain what some of these calls for service mean? For instance, common assault, aggravated assault?
Yep, common assault is basically a person unlawfully causes another person to, or I'm sorry, intentionally causes another person to use unlawful force. So example would be fighting, verbal threat, throwing a bottle at someone, missing them, bottle shattering. Aggravated assault is when you cause someone to use unlawful force and it results in a much more severe injury. And if you look at the return incident, you can see the aggravated assault in that one was a cutting, which was the stabbing on September 30th.
And in your opinion, does it appear that there's been an increase in incidents at La Raza since?
Yes, I mean, if you just look at the calls for service report, you can see that they have increased since the last hearing and since they first opened.
And where do you live in relation to Vicky?
I live at 403 Southeast Avenue, which is probably 350 feet from the location.
Have you witnessed problems in the neighborhood?
Yes, in the summertime, I don't know the exact date, but I remember looking out the window because I heard lots of shouting, lots of screaming, and I looked outside and I saw people coming out of La Raza and piling out into the street, and it was a large crowd, so I called 911 because I was scared that there was going to be a fight and I thought someone was going to be severely injured.
Is there anything else to add, just in general, about La Raza?
Pretty much,
Why you signed this revocation
well,
petition?
I signed the petition because obviously living in the area, living that close to La Raza, calls for service have increased, incidents have increased. I know many neighbors have had to call 911 because of stuff going on either inside the bar or outside the bar. Personally, I'm scared living there. I'm in fear of my life, I'm in fear of my fiance's life, and I just really don't want anyone else to get hurt.
Thank you, Ms.
And what was the date, Ms. Dickey, that you witnessed the large crowd emptying out onto East Avenue?
I don't remember the exact date, but I remember it was in the summertime.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kudensky?
That, when you call 911, it would be on this report?
Yes.
Which one is it?
Sometime in the summertime. I
Well,
don't know.
there's only like 3 or 4 of them on there, so you pick
But
one.
most likely it'd be the one in June.
June 1st?
June 24th.
June 24th, I'm
Yes.
sorry. And that's the one that said no police service necessary.
Yes, I guess so.
Well, no, it's your report that you're reading from.
Yeah, if
oh,
that's
okay.
what it says, and that's
All
what
right,
it
so
says.
out of those reports from 428 up through and including 930, there's nothing there to indicate that there were any sort of dispositions that required anybody to be charged, are there?
Nope.
And along with them, just because they have the address does not mean that it happened in the location, is that correct?
That's correct. But I did see people coming out of La Raza and gathering into the
See people
streets.
coming out of the Creative Alliance when they have an event. Don't you see them coming out?
I do, but I don't
Okay.
hear them yelling and shouting.
All right. Now, on these other ones that you had gone through, you had indicated that, let's take 3134 Eastern Avenue. How far away is that?
That would be right across the street.
And they, from June through October, they've had at least a half a dozen calls, is that correct?
Yes,
One was for an armed person. You don't think that's important?
that was what you're looking at is what the call came in for.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Right. And
All I'm going to tell you what the call came in for.
Right,
But an
but if
armed
you looked at-
person is a little bit more, someone that has a loud noise, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
But if you look at the returned incident, that's what the call actually ended up being. So even though it came in as an armed person, it was a common assault.
That was the incident it says going on arrival, so how do we know what happened?
These are just based off the calls that
Okay,
came in.
but you have no
and
personal knowledge about any of these.
I
We weren't asked to testify.
No, but you have no personal knowledge about any of these.
I see what I see, and the one incident I did call 911, that's what I saw.
And you think it's the one for the 20, whatever date that was in June, correct?
Most likely, then yes.
I have no further questions.
This does not include duplicate,
No, it does not.
so there may have been additional that are not on,
Yes.
that were
Yes.
911 calls.
Only 911.
Let me just ask you this question then. When you do a 911 call, they record it, don't they?
I'm not sure of that.
You don't know, they don't record it?
I'm sure they do record it. They do have to
Where
record
do
911 calls.
With these records, where do they keep it?
They
Do you
keep
know?
them- Yes, we keep all our calls in our record management system, which is the database that we store all of our information in. And
So if there were multiple calls, how do you know which one was picked to be on this list?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Say there were 4 people calling about the same thing. How do you know which one made the list? Or you don't know?
I have no idea, but I believe it just goes off the first call that came in.
You just believe that?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be better to bring the 911 calls here? Can't get those.
Not right now.
All right, that's all. Listen, can you get them?
Yes, I could ask my supervisor, but I can't get them right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Dickey?
I have a question, Chairman. Actually, I have two. Vicki, thank you for coming down. Your position is a crime analyst, correct?
Yes.
And how long have you been in that role?
Over 2 years.
Over 2 years. I think you testified early, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you reviewed the numbers of dispatch incidents and you've compared them to other places? You said
Yes.
that, okay. How many other places have you compared them to?
Just the ones that are in the package. I believe there are four or five other locations.
4 or 5 other alcoholic
Yes.
licensed locations. And in comparison to the other ones, 12 is significantly higher
Yes,
for those. What about in Baltimore City in its entirety? Do you have any knowledge to that?
I don't.
And thank you, Ms. Dickey. Next witness?
Senator Ferguson?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Commissioner and fellow commissioners.
Thank you.
Pleased to see you.
Spell your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Bill Ferguson, or for the record, William Ferguson, William Ferguson.
Thank you.
And could you identify your relationship to?
Yes, gladly. So I am the state senator who represents District 46, which is all of the neighborhoods in and around the Inner Harbor and the Middle Branch River. I am here in 2 capacities today. The first is in my official capacity, as well with the delegates who also represent the 46th district with me. And I'm here as a personal representative, as a homeowner who lives at 801 Southeast Avenue, which is 2.5 blocks north of where the establishment is located. I live there with myself, my wife, my 3-month-old baby, and 2 dogs.
And did you submit this letter on behalf of yourself and the district?
Yes, I did.
It's received.
And so, Senator Ferguson, can you tell me why you support the revocation of the license at 3130?
Yes, I think that this is critically important to not only the 46th district, but the city of Baltimore. We have a commitment in this city to keep and retain and bring more families into the city of Baltimore. It is an absolute duty for every public official in this great city. When we have an establishment that is receiving a suspension or a termination, or excuse me, not a termination, some sort of suspension as a result of prior conduct, and then not even yet 2 months or 3 months afterwards, there's a stabbing? Could it be a shooting, a stabbing, whatever? We have to have a zero tolerance policy. This cannot be the case if we truly want to keep families living in Baltimore. This is totally unacceptable. There should be no question that this license should be revoked. It is absolutely, it is totally unfortunate for the future of this city if we do not revoke this license. I've heard from a number of constituents that that they are totally afraid to
Well, I'm
live
gonna
in their
object
homes.
If you're going to go to the hearsay, then these are constituents over here.
We could hear from them.
Let them all hear, let them all talk too.
They're certainly allowed to, but it's obviously he represents constituents, and it's common practice of the board to allow elected
Just make an
officials.
objection for the record.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Kudensky.
noted and overruled.
As the duly elected public official who's also representing the 3 delegates, that's Delegate Brian McHale, Delegate Luke Hammond, and Delegate Peter, who did I say, who did I miss?
Clippinger.
Luke Clippinger, Peter Hammond, Brian McHale. As the representative of my constituents who live in and amongst the area, they feel threatened. They had police tape out front of their homes. This is unacceptable no matter where you are in the city. Doesn't matter if it's in Canton, doesn't matter if it's in Curtis Bay, in Cherry Hill. This is totally unacceptable. And I'd like to go to something Mr. Kudensky said earlier, which was, well, this happens in all parts of the city, so it's not something that can be attributed to a single bar. And that makes me sick to my stomach, to think that our expectations for our city are that low, that we can see violence in our communities and we turn a blind eye. It's totally unacceptable. This is something that needs to be addressed, and I believe that there is a very tough balance between business owners and residents when it comes to liquor establishments. I think that you all do a wonderful job balancing those interests on a regular basis. However, when a licensee has been restricted and then not even 6 months later, there's a stabbing out front of their establishment, the license needs to go.
Let me ask you, what kind of personal knowledge you have about the stabbing? Personal.
The next day when I was walking my dogs, I saw the police tape.
You don't know about where the people came from, who did the stabbing, the names of the people, anything?
No, Mr. Kudensky, I don't. But I know from my experience as a public official in the city of Baltimore that there are problem places, and when problem places have people come back and forth into these establishments, and there are incidents that raise to the level of stabbings and shootings, something has to be done. It's not just a coincidence that people show up one place.
Well, if I told you that evidence is going to show that these people that were stabbed weren't even in this place, they were at the bus stop, would that differ your opinion?
Would it differ my opinion? No, actually, because I read the police report and I saw that not only was it that evening and the next morning, the call of 6.
I just told about that evening.
Well, okay, well, I don't know. I'll give you another example.
No. Just, would that differ your opinion if you knew these people weren't in the place, had nothing to do, and the security person called when he saw the event happen at the bus stop? Would it not change your opinion?
It's a hypothetical that I can't rely on any facts.
Okay. Well, so you don't have any facts about how it happened either.
What I can rely as facts is what
Yep.
already said that he saw the police.
Well, then he's still talking, then jump in.
The objection is sustained.
Okay. How about, you don't think that we live in a violent city?
No, I think it's totally unacceptable that we live in a violent
That's not
city.
The question is, do you think we live in a violent city?
Well, are we talking about me or are we talking about you? Do you live in the city?
I'm
right.
asking you.
I believe, as a resident of the city, it's totally unacceptable, the level of
Do you
violence.
think we live in a violent city?
There is too much violence in Baltimore City, and it's totally unacceptable, and we have to raise our expectations about what's possible.
So you feel we live in a violent city?
All right, next question.
I think. And as far as your constituents, how about all these people here?
Next question, sustained.
And I would like to respond, because I think that
If you're going to let them keep talking, then let's stay here at 8 o'clock, if that's the way you want to do it.
if I,
You are badgering the witness by continually asking him to disavow his constituents. You may call,
Chairman, he said his constituents. I only asked a very simple question. Are these people his constituents? Hispanic people. It's either a yes or no answer, not anything else.
next question.
How they vote.
Thank you. Senator?
I have a few questions.
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Senator, thank you so much for coming down here. Have you had any conversations with the licensee?
I have not.
Has anyone from your office or anyone from the community expressed conversations that they have had with the licensee?
Yes.
Concerning their concerns?
Yes, both before the residents contacted our office prior to the first initial incident and then after the most recent incident in September 30th. I don't know the content of those direct conversations.
Okay. In your capacity, do you have experience coordinating conversations between concerned citizens and small businesses?
Yes, most definitely. And I think it's important to note that in this case in particular, that in Baltimore City, we struggle with issues of race and class. And I think it's important to make sure that this is something that's relevant to this case, that no matter the race of the community, no matter the class of the community, violence is unacceptable. And when there is a stabbing in front of an establishment, in any community, that licensee should be revoked.
When did you first hear of your constituents' concerns of La Raza Cantina?
So the next morning when I was walking my dogs, I saw the police tape, and then I didn't know what the exact content was, but it was, I guess, probably Sunday afternoon that Ms. Prophet reached out to me to let me know of her experience with the incident the prior night.
You're referring to April 26, 2012?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is the September 30th, October 1st.
Okay, and you had no prior knowledge of any concerns for this licensed establishment?
I knew that this establishment had been, the license had been suspended earlier in the summer.
Okay, so from the time period of the suspension to September, had there been efforts on behalf of you, or if you have any knowledge of the delegates that you're also here speaking on behalf of, there been any communication to coordinate a sit-down between the concerned citizens and the licensee?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
One follow-up on that is, do you have liaison people through either with your group or with the three delegates, like Hispanic or Korean? Let's say Polish people too, let's not leave them out.
I have one full-time staffer and then one part-time staffer who's bilingual.
Right, Hispanic.
Yes.
All right, no further questions. Thank you, Senator.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tracy.
Name is Dan Tracy. I'm PRACY, Vice President of the Canton Community Association.
I'll keep this very brief. Since the April hearing, have you emailed Ms. Mejia to invite her to any of your associations?
A little bit before that.
Okay.
We had a public meeting on March 27th. It's a spring public meeting of Canton Community Association. And residents who live in the neighborhood of La Raza came to explain in some detail about their concerns.
I hate to be
Chair Jepson.
before April 26th.
Background, if you don't.
If you'd rather, I didn't. I was trying to give the background, but if
Can you
you'd rather
repeat
not.
that date?
Yeah,
March 27th. It was a public meeting. I will.
And Mr. Tracy, the board has ruled that we're not going to consider evidence from prior to April 26th.
April 26th.
So if you could direct your testimony to
All
after
right.
that date. if
The
you
answer
can.
to that question is, at the hearing on April 26th, Ms. Mejia was represented by Attorney Sean Hardy, I believe.
Harvey, H-A-R-B-Y.
Harvey, that's right. And he expressed an interest in getting together to meet so we could set up some type of a mediation thing with the community. I told him that was fine. I'd be happy to arrange it. I sent him an email shortly after that, around the first part of May, and said that we would put them on the agenda for our Economic Development Committee meeting on June the 11th. And he thanked me for making the arrangements, said he would send this email. He would send the information to his client, and he would get back to me to confirm that they would be there. I didn't hear anything from them by about a month later, around the 1st of June, and I followed up with Attorney Harvey, and he responded with an email saying that he would send my email to Ms. Mejia and that she would respond directly to me. I assume that meant he was off the case. June 8th came by. I had not heard anything from Ms. Mejia. So I sent her an email saying we were taking her off the agenda for the meeting on June 11th. But if she wanted to come back again and meet with us, I'd be happy to do it at any time, just to contact me.
Have you ever heard
No, no, never heard anything further.
All right, thank you very
Actually,
much.
you live on Boston Street.
Pardon me?
You live on Boston Street?
Yes, I do. Since
Oh.
1988.
Well, good. Before the train tracks.
That's right.
How far are you away from this location?
Yeah, it's overruled, though.
Yeah, I don't know the exact distance, a pretty good distance. Eastern Avenue and Boston Street pretty far apart.
And this is in your community's area?
Well,
Eastern Avenue?
it's part of it, but we do defer to Hampton Hill and to Highlandtown, and I contacted and worked with both of them.
But it's not.
It's not really, it's on the
Oh,
periphery of
okay,
our
I got
area.
it, I got it. It's fine. Other questions?
Jake Cohen?
Good afternoon, Board.
Good afternoon.
Jake Berzoff Cohen, Jake Berzoff-Cohen.
Currently live,
I live at 500 Southeast Avenue.
and how close is that?
It's directly next to it. So there's an alleyway that's in between, and I live in the house next door.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
I moved very recently, September 1st.
And can you tell me about what occurred on the evening of September 30th?
Absolutely. So on September 30th, I was in bed. It was in the early morning. I was asleep, actually, until I was woken by shouts and screaming. And just to be clear, so that was the second night of incidents. This was the first night. So the first night, I believe, was the two men. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So on the first night of incidents, well, because there were two back to back. So on the first night of incidents, there were two men who were screaming, and so we're talking. Yeah, we're talking. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're on a different incident. So that was the incident of the of folks outside of the bar. So my room directly overlooks the street. So I'm on the top right-hand corner of the house, which is the one most nearest to the bar. And so I heard screaming. I heard bottles breaking, and so I got up and I went directly to my window. So what I saw, the first thing I saw was a gentleman being pulled by a woman as she was screaming at him to stop. He goes into his trunk and grabs what looks like a weapon and goes back towards the direction of the bar. There was then more screaming, more fighting, and my girlfriend was over, and so I went to her. Both of us were absolutely terrified. And there was screaming, fighting, and then people pushing each other, and then police sirens.
And how long did this go on for?
The scope of the incident,
Excuse me.
I'd say the screaming and fighting couldn't have been more than maybe 8 to 10 minutes, and then police and incidents, and it sort of kept going for the next hour or so, noise and light.
And what happened the next evening?
But then the next evening, we were woken again, girlfriend over again, and this time it was by just screaming in the middle of the night, and so it was people who had I got up again. I saw people coming from the direction of the bar, and eventually a police officer approached this man who was screaming at the top of his lungs at about 1:30 in the morning, and he asked him to stop. There was an incredibly long interplay. When he was asking him to quiet down and calm down, the man continued screaming. Several neighbors came out. Then the police and neighbors engaged, and it didn't settle down for about an hour and a half.
Have you had any misgivings about your recent move to the area based on what's happening at La Raza?
So
Sustained.
Have you had any misgivings about moving to your current home?
So
Sustained.
What are your feelings about where you live now?
So so I actually considered, I moved there. I was excited about living there, really excited about living in the neighborhood. And after these sort of continued incidents, and those two incidents that I just described weren't the first time that we were woken in the middle of the night, either by bottles breaking, by violence, by people screaming. And so I probably shouldn't say it's my landlord behind me, but I considered leaving. Immediately after these incidents, I kind of felt like enough is enough. I didn't move here for this. And it terrified me. It terrified my girlfriend coming over here, as she told me several times that she did not want to spend the night because she was scared of what was happening outside of the bar.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your experience?
Yeah, so another incident was actually just about a week and a half ago. I returned home from...
Oh, I'm going to object.
All right, we're going to sustain that objection.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Berzofko.
You're welcome.
Let me just ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Going back to the September the 30th, the first time that you had seen any type of ruckus outside, when you look at your window, people were out in the street? Or you
I'm sorry. It wasn't the first time I'd seen anything outside.
no, September 30th. You saw something before September 30th on that same night?
Oh, you said on that same night.
Same night.
You said the first time I saw anything.
Anything on September 30th on that same night?
That I saw before the incident. No.
Did not. Now, when you first saw the parties, did you see anybody get stabbed?
When I saw the... Excuse me? What was the
Did
word?
you see anybody get stabbed?
No.
Okay.
What I testified that I saw someone emerge from, go to the trunk, grab a weapon, go across the street, and I heard screaming.
Okay, and that was it?
That's what I testified.
And this was all outside on the street?
Mm-hmm.
So on your side of the street, or was it across the street?
So if you look, my window faces the other side of the street. Person grabbed the weapon, approached La Raza, so the side of the street that is my side. That's when the incident occurred.
And you didn't see him do anything, though?
I heard screaming. No, I didn't
No,
see.
you did not.
Because as you can see, my window, I can't
I
see.
got it. Now, let me ask you this question. Would you find it strange to believe that when the police report indicates that they canvassed all, including your house, and nobody came to give any information to the police?
I was never contacted.
All right, so whatever the police report says is not correct.
I was never contacted.
You never contacted. All right, and let's go on the second night. The indication when you heard the outside, it was in the alleyway?
Excuse me?
Was it in the alleyway between your house and La Raza?
Directly in front of my house.
In front of your house?
Mhm.
So the police were talking to that person in front of your house?
Mm-hmm. So it was both. So it was in the alleyway, and then when I looked at the window, I could see the person in front of my house.
A individual person?
Well, there was there was
Okay.
one person. Well, there were two at first having intercourse. So there's one guy screaming and one guy talking to him, and then he kept screaming. So the person causing the disturbance was really just one.
And sometime the police came,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just talking to one of the individuals?
The police were speaking to one man, asking him to be quiet.
Were they talking to him in English or in Spanish?
English.
Was he talking back to them in English, or was he talking to them in Spanish?
English.
You remember what he said his name was?
No.
You didn't hear anything about what his name was?
I was literally awoken. I was asleep.
Did
So
you see
no,
the
I did
police
not
when
hear
the
his name.
police jumped on top of him?
Objection, this is outside.
What would
the
you
scope.
see? Tell me what you saw.
He's already
Sustained.
testified to what he saw.
Yeah, it's asked and answered. Next
Yeah.
question.
Did you see him interact with the police at all?
Objection, he's already testified
You
to
did
what
not
he
see
saw.
him?
Yeah, it's asked and answered. Next question.
All right, no further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Berzofko.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Last witness, Deborah Puey.
Just going through these.
Can you say and spell your name for the record, Ms. Pucci?
My name is Deborah Pugy, Deborah. Last name Puggi. I also would like to state my name in Spanish. I am Hispanic. Mi nombre es Deborah Pugy, Deborah-Pugggi.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Pucci.
And can you tell me where you live in relation to La Raza, Ms. Pucci?
Yes, I live at 505 Southeast Avenue, which is across the street from La Raza.
And how long have you lived there?
Approximately 3 years.
And would you say you frequent bars and restaurants in the area?
Yes, my husband and I both do frequently.
And can you explain what happened or what you saw in the early morning hours of October 1st?
Yes, in the early morning hours, my husband and I were awakened by a gentleman that was loudly screaming, ranting, and yelling. And this went on for approximately 30 minutes. At that point, the police were called because nothing was happening. The police were then called, and the ranting and raving continued to go on. The gentleman was in the officers' faces. He was slamming his wallet down in the cars, and again, yelling and screaming. And are we gonna watch the video? Or should I go
So
on?
Exhibit 25 is a video taken the night of October 1st, and she is able to testify that it is an accurate representation of what happened. I won't show the whole video, but would you mind if I played a short clip?
And where this video was taken was 2 houses down, so I live 2 row homes down from this. Like it was.
My question is, did you take the video?
She did not.
Yeah.
No. For videos, I just say that as long as she can testify that it's an accurate representation.
I'm going to object because she didn't take it. I don't know who took it. I don't know whether it's daytime
I
generated.
can
don't know.
go to minute 8, which the videographer says when she was taking it, and her name and address.
All
That
right.
would satisfy Mr. Johnson.
Where's the
It's
video?
not going to satisfy him. I'm going to overrule your objection. Anything, you may show us any part of this video that you witnessed with your own eyes.
Okay. Did you witness this occurrence on the night of October 1st?
Yes, I witnessed this occurrence.
And is this an accurate representation of what you saw?
Yes, it is an accurate representation. The only thing that it does not depict is the extended amount of time that this gentleman was ranting and raving prior to the police officers getting there. It also does not depict, you can see that, but you can't see them as much. The other gentlemen that were with him that were going inside the bar and then back outside to be with the gentleman, because they did come out of La Raza. And it also does not depict the total seven police officers that were there that night, because the camera angle cannot capture everything on that street. But other than that, yes, I did view this whole thing, and it is pretty accurate for what is being shown.
Thank you. I'm not going to show the entire 18-minute video. But I'll just ask Mr. Caden.
And the police officer grabs him right away. Is that correct? And they throw him on the ground.
Yes. Again, I did testify that this is an accurate depiction, but it does not show the 30 minutes prior to him doing exactly that with no force on him.
And right there. Saw him talking to the police officer, just all of a sudden bolted and grabbed a hold of him. Right? Did you see him
No.
do anything to the police officer?
No, he was yelling at them and being aggressive.
When they were asked what his name was, he said Alex. Did you hear that on the tape?
I'm going to object. I don't know why this is relevant. Also, she's my witness right now.
I agree. You can put it
can
into
ask me
evidence
some
yourself in
process
your
it,
case in chief, so your objection is overruled, or your objection sustained, actually.
And you saw the gentleman arguing and talking with another gentleman. Police at the time.
Objection. She's my witness right now.
No.
Cross-examine what she said.
Overruled. It is cross-examination.
You
can
first
answer
saw
him.
him when he was out there making, was he talking to the police when he was talking, or was he talking to another individual?
When I got up and started viewing, yes, he was yelling at the police officers.
That's the first time you saw him. You never saw him talking to anybody else other than the police officers.
I tried to, again, understanding the situation and not trying to just call 911 to see if the incident would be evaded. It was going on for 30 minutes where I did not get out of my bed to wait, see if it would stop.
Trying to determine
So,
what was
no,
going
I
on for
heard him
30
yelling.
minutes.
I heard multiple yelling. I cannot say that it was him exactly he was talking to when I physically looked out my window and went outside. It was him yelling at police officers.
So, regarding that video, first time that you saw him was when he was talking to the police officer there. Did you see it before that part that's not on the video?
Like I said, prior to this, which the video is pretty long, he was just yelling and ranting and raving prior to them, prior to the police officers getting on top of him and taking him to the ground. So yes, there
Yelling
was a lot of yelling
At the police officers or at someone else?
at the police officers.
What was he yelling about, if you heard him?
He was upset that they were stopping and questioning him, because he said, "I just come here to get a drink. I just want to go home." And then everything had ensued, then another officer came, and then he was unruly, so he was yelling at them because they were attempting to calm him down, and it just was getting worse.
Were they talking to him in English or Spanish?
They were speaking to him.
Okay, no further question.
Thank you, Ms. Pucci. You're moving for admission? Number 25? Video only on the compact disc is received.
The whole
Over
thing.
objection.
Kuzia.
The whole, and the entire video will be received, although the board has only viewed the first 2 minutes of the video. Okay.
One question, Chair. What language was the young man speaking?
The young man was speaking English.
All right, thank you.
Were there, Ms. Pucci, you testified earlier that you understand Spanish. Did you hear did you hear other witnesses or other people that night speaking in Spanish? Did you understand them?
There were a couple individuals that had come out of the bar that were taking video on their cell phones of the incident, and I heard the officers say them because they were getting close to the officer with their video, and I heard the officer tell them, "Please put that down." And the other gentleman said in Spanish to the other gentleman, "No, you can continue videotaping. I know that you can do that. It's okay. It's not illegal."
And how did the incident on October 1st make you feel?
It's scary also because, after this went on for 30 minutes, we ended up going, my husband and I ended up going outside because, which is all depicted in the video, that he had asked them, "Hey, we're trying to sleep, we need to go to work. Can you please move this or arrest him or do something? It's been going on for an extended period of time." And the officer immediately, which again, I would like to reiterate that it is in the video, charged at my husband and said, "Get back in the house. What are you doing out here? This could turn into a shooting. There could be a shootout and you guys are out here and this is dangerous. Get back in your house." Which again, this is a police officer that is set to guard our area that is telling me, a homeowner, I'm identifying this as a dangerous situation because of what we are seeing or have seen in the area. This could potentially turn into a shooting, get into your house. So I obviously have to come in and out of my house every day. I walk my dog. We go out and frequent bars in the area and come back home and leave our house in the evening. So this makes me very scared to be in my area or to be, I don't know what these people are capable of. And so I have to, I'm scared for myself and my family.
Have you witnessed any other incidents since October 1st, but before, in the few weeks after October 1st, did you witness any other incidents?
Yes, and there was one incident. There was a large man that came out of the bar yelling at a younger woman. He was pretty large, about the size of my husband, and he's a pretty large man, who was screaming at this woman, was pushing her towards into the street, into her car, saying, "Get out of here," just again yelling. He was a large woman, and he was pushing this other woman to get into her car and yelling at her. At another incident, I believe that it was the same man. It looked like the same man to me. That came out and had an object that was running after a woman. I also called 911 on this incident because I was afraid for her. I'm going to say it was a bat. I cannot say that it was a bat, but it looked like a large object, oblong object like that, chasing after her, and then went around the corner. And again, he was yelling at her, and then multiple other people came out of the bar and followed and ran towards that situation. It was then out of my view, but again, I did see her yelling, "Come out of the bar." Multiple other people come out of the bar chasing her with an object.
And is there anything else you'd like to add about why you think this license should be revoked?
Yes, again, I stood before you at the last hearing. You guys all have our testimony from the last hearing. As other people have testified, this has gotten exponentially worse. I am afraid for my safety. I work long hours, as I'm sure you guys do. Come home late, and I do have to park on the street. I do multiple times walk home by myself. I have my laptop. I have things in my arms. I can't readily defend myself if need be. I don't want to be in the way of something happening, or a weapon or a gun or a shooting. Again, as the police officer had stated, get back in your house. This could turn into a shooting coming from the officers that are protecting me. So I'm scared on a daily basis.
Thank you. No further questions. He's
Just
going to
asking
ask you
the
a couple
question,
questions.
the 2 incidents that you talk about with this large man, you know when that would have occurred, what month, anything?
I believe that they were in October, and I will say that they should be on the 911 calls.
You called it in a 911 in October.
Yes.
Yeah, I told you that There's none on there for October. So who did you talk to when you called in? You talked to the 911 operator?
Actually, sorry, can I interrupt? That's actually incorrect. If you look at, there should be 2 for September 30th. One is
I'm
11
asking about,
PM.
she said October.
I
mean,
know, but it came in before October 1st because it was late on the night. It's actually 2 September.
Well, I'm asking
All
the
right, yeah,
witness.
but
I
it's
mean,
his cross-examination,
just
so
wanted to
he can ask the
clarify
question
so
the way
he
he wants.
understood.
That's fine, please. Mr. Kadinsky, you may ask your question.
when did you call it in October? Did you say it was early October?
I cannot remember the exact date all of these calls are late at night, early in the morning when I'm woken up from a sleep.
There were these 2 incidents you talk about with this large man.
Yes.
They both take place in October?
I mean, they've happened a couple times. These 2 incidents specifically that I'm speaking about, I don't know the exact date, but I mean, this has happened multiple times. I'm just depicting 2.
But each time you called it in.
Objection asked and answered.
Yeah. And indeed sustained. So what date, I'll wait till he's finished, but I want you to come up with,
That's what I'm saying. What
early
date?
October that's your testimony.
I'm going to say that it was end of September, early in October. I mean, that's around the time, yes.
All right.
And this, may it's just when you called it in, what did you call it in as? What'd you say?
I said, please come here quick. There is a large man that is assaulting a woman. I'm afraid for her. He is pushing her. I'm watching it as this is happening currently. He is pushing her. She is screaming. He is loudly yelling at her. He's continuing to push her. Please get her quickly, is what I said.
Police came, what happened? Did you see it?
Well, for one of the incidents, it was more towards, it was on Eastern Avenue, and so I'm on East. Around the corner, they had come out of the bar, and the yelling had happened, and they had turned left towards Matthew's Pizza area. So that was out of my view. I just saw them come out. I did see the police cars go down Eastern Avenue and stop in that area. So I could see the sirens and the police cars. I did not physically see what happened after that. I can only see them come out of the bar and the pushing that happened that was in my sight.
Have you ever talked to the licensee?
I've talked to her at the Canton Association meeting, and that is it.
When was that Canton Association meeting?
Again, I don't remember all dates, but I know that our Canton Association representative did say those dates.
Have you ever been in the bar?
I have not.
When you see the clientele that goes in the bar?
Do I see them from
watching people
these
going in?
incidents? Yes.
Be like these people over here on this side?
Sure.
Objection relevance.
Overruled.
Yes or no?
I don't recognize specific faces.
Just the type of clientele that go in, basically.
Objection relevance and badgering the witness.
Yeah.
Hispanic people that go in the bar.
No, overruled.
There are also African American individuals, and there are also Caucasian individuals that do go in there,
I have no
and
further
Hispanics. Yeah.
I have a few questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Switchy, thanks for coming down.
So,
Have you had an opportunity to look at these calls for service that was submitted by the protestants?
I have not looked at those individually. No.
Okay. Are you familiar with Bistro RX, Pacific Coast, Annabelle Lee Tavern, and Matthew's Best Pizza?
I've actually been to all of them. Yes.
Would you be surprised to know that every single one of those locations has had a common assault call for service? Very similar to the description that you gave me and the video that we just watched. That's the kind of, disorderly conduct, common assault.
I would say multiple, no, but I would agree that when alcohol is involved, something could happen.
Okay. Are you afraid for your safety to attend those licensed establishments with a similar history of common assault?
No, I'm not aware of all their history. If I were to see their history and it was listed as many as this bar, and if I were to see them daily and nightly as I see this La Raza, then absolutely I would be.
So I just want to be clear. You testified that you are afraid for your safety, and I find your statements to be extremely credible and convincing. But I'm asking, why are you afraid of La Raza Cantina based on the assault charges or the calls for assault, and haven't stated your concern or fear for attending the other licensed establishments? What's the difference?
The difference is that I see it and I experience it firsthand. If I hear about it, I mean, I've heard things about other areas in the city as well. If I don't experience it, I mean, obviously there's a thought put in your head, but I don't experience it daily. These are situations that I see all the time, I experience all the time, which is the only reason why I say such a strong statement that I fear for my safety.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pucci.
No further.
What do you want to do about Exhibit 26?
We can, it's fine, we don't need it.
You don't have the person here.
He's not
who-
here.
Okay.
Nope.
Sure, we're off the record.
Excuse me, that's his packet here.
All right, we're back on the record. Exhibit 26 has been withdrawn by the protestants. And we'll hear from you, Mr. Kaninsky.
Well, as to the exhibits themselves, my objection to them